Have you ever looked at the world in the context of how little you do know compared to what you don't know? Well, here's what I mean. I've had this sort of image in my head for a long time about how to explain your awareness of the world around you. And I'm going to try to explain it here where it makes sense. And I hope you get something out of this. It it expands my mind every time I think about it. So, if you think about your daily life, your awareness of the world, let's just say pre-internet, is based around what your eyes see, the light that actually hits your eyes, the sound that hits your ears, things that you touch, things that you smell, things that you taste. If it doesn't meet one of those criteria, you didn't know about it. That's still true today, but there's a difference. You have a teleport device that allows you to see and hear things that you don't actually get to in person. So think about it like this. Imagine you're looking at the world. Let's say, imagine you're looking top down over your house, wherever you live right now. Okay? And it's completely dark. There's no light at all. And you're asleep. You wake up, you open your eyes. And imagine in that top down view, there's flashlights coming out of your eyeballs. Okay? So you're lighting up the room around you as you look at it. Okay? So it was darkness because your eyes were closed. You could not see that, so you did not know what was there. And when you look at it, you're now illuminating that area because your brain can now see it. And so you know what's there now. So there was mystery, now there's not. So as you look around the room, that light is now shining around the room, lighting it up. So you can see what's over here, what's over there, what's out the window. And as you move around the house, it follows you around. And your room where you've looked is now lit up, but slightly dim because you're not in there now. So you don't know what's happening right this second, but you remember what it looked like a minute before. And then you're in the kitchen and you sort of have this ever expanding awareness where you're lighting up more and more areas. Well, let's say you didn't even go in the back bedroom today. So that's still dark because you haven't been in there. And once you go in there, it lights up. But not everywhere because you didn't look under the bed, you didn't look under the closet. And then now let's go outside the house. So now you walk outside and you light up some areas around there. But remember, only where you point your eyes, right? Only where you look is what you know. And then you get in a car and then you drive somewhere and now you've lit up that streak from wherever you've driven down the road. And over here you look to the right, so you see that area facing the school. And over here you see facing the restaurant. And then you're at your job, and so you've got this top-down view where you have lit up some of the map, but very little. And that's really the total of your awareness, because you didn't absorb seeing or hearing anything else. So you don't know about anything else in the entire planet. unless someone told you something, and then now you have sort of secondhand knowledge, right? So it doesn't light up, but you have that sort of gray sense of that area at a past time because something happened there. Okay, now fast forward, and now you have a TV, now you have a cell phone, now you have a computer. So the way I see that, sort of, if you want to have an image, is think about when you're looking at a TV, you're lighting up the room between you and the TV. And then wherever the camera is that is showing you what's on the screen, that's also another light. So if you look at the top down view, you've got a light between your head and the TV where you can see. And then somewhere in another city, somewhere else, let's say it's one of these big news stations, so you're in Manhattan in a studio, and you're looking at where the camera in the studio is pointed at the anchor, right? So that's just a 10-foot section between the camera and the desk. So now that what's going on there is now sort of being teleported into your awareness. So that you got a dot where your house is, and then hundreds of miles over here you've got a little dot. But it's still totally dark in between, and you don't even know what's happening to the right or left of the camera or behind the camera. You don't know any of that. You just have this little tiny dot here and a little tiny dot here. And every night, people sit there and watch that news show and think they're finding out everything that's happening in the world. And in reality, you're just getting this tiny little dot right over here where they choose to point the camera, and a tiny little dot over here where they pointed that camera. And it's very deceptive in that way. Now, if you want to rewind a little bit, if you played Warcraft, specifically Warcraft 3 was the one that I had when I was younger, it's the same thing. You have a top-down view where the whole thing is dark, and there's one little corner where you're standing and it's lit up. And as you move around, the map lights up. And when you move away from something, it goes gray because you don't know what's happening there. Same thing. Except the planet's a lot bigger, and there's things happening and changing all the time. And your awareness feels, especially these days, I think it feels like you know what's happening everywhere all the time. But in reality, it's just a little dot here and there and a couple over here. I mean, it's so not much. But boy, it feels like a lot. And I've been trying to figure out a way to visually convey this, and this is my best attempt at showing that now. So I hope the image comes across, and I hope maybe you understand a little more about how little people actually know the next time someone's having a conversation where they feel very confident about knowing what's going on somewhere else that they've never even really been. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about, especially with all the information you're getting hit with daily. Which, just if you don't know, your digital life is being filtered for you by these companies. For example, if you have Facebook and you have all these people that you follow, you don't see everything they post. Because if you followed, what's the limit? Like 4,000 free people, whatever the limit was, right? If you saw everything everyone posted, you would never see anything because it would just be constant flow of all over the place. So once things started to move towards that way, they started to build an algorithm, and it learned what you interact with, and then it started showing you more of that. So if this friend posts things that you like, you see more of their stuff, but you see less of this other things because you don't like it as much, according to the algorithm. And that's basically how it works. With Google, they do that too. With Twitter, Instagram, all of the, especially TikTok, boy, they have dialed that in. And they will show you what you're probably going to like over and over and over. But remember, you're getting what they think you want to see. You're not getting a random smattering. And here's how you can prove it. If you ever want to test it, if you watch YouTube a lot, for example, go log out and open a different browser you've never used before, or use the incognito mode. That does work sometimes. So log out, go incognito, and just pull up YouTube and look at what it shows you. It's going to be mostly different videos than you saw when you were logged in, because it knows what you have interacted with in the past. Now open a different browser and do the exact same thing. It'll be different. I promise you, it'll be different. Until you start interacting, and then it'll sort of figure it out. Twitter's the same way. But I feel like TikTok and YouTube are really probably the best at it right now. Instagram's trying, but yeah. Thinking you're seeing it all is just not true. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because recently someone sort of mentioned how they felt like people were too connected, is what the words they used. They said people are just too connected these days. Well, in reality, you're not, because you're not getting that much. If you look at the top-down view and see how much of the world map you're lighting up on a day, it ain't that much. It's really not that much. For most people, it's a little bit at their house, driving to their job, around at their job, maybe they go somewhere for lunch, and then they go back to the job, and then maybe they stop at the store on the way home, and then they go home. But that's it. Like, there are so many people that don't do much more than that on a daily basis. And boy, there's a whole big planet out there. But yeah, I just want to throw in the reason that I know this so much better now than I did before is because when we had the whole lockdown thing and I was stuck not getting out in the world and moving around, it really showed me how most people are stuck in a life that they don't have that exposure daily. They don't really have a connection to what's going on in the world, what people are thinking about, talking about, how people feel, what they're spending money on. Most people have to be told that from somewhere. And that somewhere these days is like Facebook and Twitter and the news. That's kind of where people feel like they learn about what's going on in the world. But it's still a very limited thing. Anyway, I've been rambling for a long time. I hope you get my point. I think it's a powerful image once you wrap your head around what you really know. And I hope it's not too scary. I hope the knowledge of realizing what reality is more powerful, because now you can be more accurate with how you perceive and accept information. And maybe be slightly skeptical when you hear things that you have no way to prove at all. There's definitely a lot of stuff floating around that might not be true these days.